Why is making progress on net zero important to your business?
It's fundamental to what we're doing, and we recognise Baxalls have spent a lot of time trying to understand what our impact is on the environment, and we've been measuring our carbon footprint for some time. But actually, with the climate emergency, this really comes into our piece about design, construction, the effect that we have on the environment, and what we can do to be part of delivering net zero by 2050. In my view, it needs to be quicker than that, but set a target, let's go for it.
Great. Which of the 9 priorities are more relevant to your business and clients, and why?
Well, it's interesting, and when you go through all the priorities, I mean, I personally think that there are a few others that come off the back of this as well, but the 3 main areas, around transport, the zero emissions of vehicles and on-site plant, we are driving that through in our business already, and setting targets really to do that in the next 5 years. We believe that that's a sensible target. Modern methods of construction is actually at the core of our business on all new builds. We have got a number of options. We've got strategic partnerships, not only with UK-based companies, but also European, in Germany and in Ireland. And the effect and the positivity around doing that with reducing vehicle movements, cutting out waste, and actually building more efficient buildings. I mean, the air quality, the air tightness of the buildings, we're getting much better readings using modern methods of construction. So all heading in the right direction and improving all the time. I think the other modes of transport, interestingly, the drive around COVID has reduced our effect on the environment just by the fact that we're using Teams for meetings as opposed to driving to have meetings. So all of that is a positive thing, and also within our own organisation, encouraging the use of electric vehicles with charge points at our offices, and also incorporating that into designs where we have that opportunity. In the buildings element, the big retrofitting market, which as a business we've always been very involved in refurbishment, and it's one of our core skills. But actually, the opportunity around retrofitting, and the fact that 80% of the buildings that we're going to have for the next 20, 30 years are already built. Yeah, it's fine. We're working on the new buildings and getting those better and more efficient, less effect on the environment. But actually, we've got to really concentrate on that 80% as well. So the idea of developing our business to be able to do more of that, to take that into monitoring, understanding what can be done to improve, not just changing the windows or putting more insulation in, but what really can be done, and measure that improvement of performance, energy usage, and so on. So that picks up the low carbon heat solutions. The design is key. When you put a brief together, increasingly now those requirements of what the output needs to be as far as energy is concerned, and I think increasingly it will also have the requirement to measure and cost the carbon within that design, and we're certainly in that space as we speak.
And what do you feel is the difference between the sort of short-term aims and the long-term aims here?
Well, probably the difference is the business model, because we've have been a very traditional for a long time, been a very traditional main contractor with then design and build capability. But what we've increasingly recognised is that doesn't actually deliver what the client needs, and sometimes they don't even know what they need. So most of the time they don't know what they need. So what we've started to do is evolve our business into a new model that will have a more complete approach. So it picks up the briefing element, the design element, taking that through to construction. But then it's beyond that. It's how is that building maintained? Is it doing what you set out in the brief? Is it maintaining good air quality? Is it using the electricity that you designed it to use or not to use? And then you then take that even to the next stage and say, what is the performance of the people in that building and using that building? Taking it even to the extent of comparing what they were like in their previous buildings to how they are. Were in schools, have exam performance improved, has absenteeism dropped, has staff retention improved, and all of those measures can start to help dictate or help that continuous improvement of improving the brief. But it is a different business model, and it's something that I think we've started to sort of put ourselves out there as an SME disruptor, and it is doing things quite differently, but excitingly so.
Great. How have you helped your supply chain understand and what is required against the priorities for the business?
That's been an interesting journey over the last few years. We always had a very strong supply chain and had started to evolve sort of an A list, those that we were working with predominantly, both consultants and subcontractors. And that now has gone to another level. So we have regular sessions with them, both collectively and individually. We support them in their training. And it's not just about sort of awareness, which obviously is key, but it's actually supporting them in developing their own business plan and their own processes and procedures so that they then become as enthusiastic and as keen to deliver what we're trying to deliver as we are. And that has been a very interesting journey. And what I've been incredibly impressed with and pleased with is how people have really engaged with it. And in some cases, some of our supply chain have accelerated quicker than we are. So, yeah. Really
and as a business leader, what do you think the biggest challenge is and how are you working to overcome it?
Well, the business is people. At one end, you've got clients that don't really know what they want, and then you've got the other end, you've got people that have been doing things the same way for years and years and don't see the need to change. I think the only way you can change that is by just doing it and getting out there and showing what can be done. And then you will eventually, either they will come dragging, you drag them with you, or actually by showing and demonstrating a new way, #doing it differently is one of the things that we've got, is that actually people go, actually there is something here. And those people that start to have their eyes open and start to engage with it then become disciples, if that's the right word, but they become part of that change and in a positive way. And to be frank, those that don't, just leave them behind and we will move on. What's been really positive is the engagement of younger people coming into the business, the graduates, postgraduates that are joining and seeing that there is something that they can really do to support the change, the climate emergency, the changes that need to be had in order to deliver something special.
And in your view, Malcolm, what is one of the innovations or the changes that is going to have the biggest impact on carbon or progress in our industry?
The change in procurement, in how people choose what they want. I think it's happening in every walk of life, from people buying cars to the packaging that they've got around their food. Everyone is making more and more informed decisions around that will affect or not, as the case may be, the environment. That into the construction sphere, and people making the decision or the selection in procurement terms of real value. And it's not necessarily about having to pay more for that. Actually, over time, the efficiencies and the cutting out of the waste actually will pay for doing it better anyway, and it should work, and the efficiency should be really good. So really strong. The CLC and the government have issued now this construction playbook, which really does map out what value is and looks at much wider things than just price. and it's corporate social responsibility, it's effect on the environment, it's what are we doing for the people that we're building for, and I think that's the big change.
Employees within the company think about the business approach to the net zero.
Well, the best way is to ask. I mean, at the moment we're going through an Investors in People review, and some of the questions that have been put in that are around our ability as a business to engage with new ideas, new thinking, and that's come out very strongly in the responses that we've had back, and we're hoping that we've hit the highest level on our Investors in People. But having said that, I think the key thing is when I do a lot of the interviewing when we're recruiting, and it's very clear that people want to join companies that are forward thinking, that are understand that there's an issue out there and want to do and are capable of doing something, and that's palpable.
Yeah, and that sort of really ties into the younger generation within your business engaging in this.
It is. What we've done is created a strategy approach that includes everybody. So all the staff get invited to strategy sessions that then feed into the strategy board, and that links to the business plan, and it all meshes together. And that's been quite challenging because sometimes some of those ideas that come up through the ranks actually are quite difficult to say no to, but they're also challenging to deliver as well. But that's been really good. The other thing that we've done is that the business has just gone through an EOT, an employee ownership trust transaction. So the employees own the majority of the shares, and so therefore the ownership and the feel of how the business could develop for the future is very much with those that are in it rather than those that own it. And that's very exciting.
That's a very interesting point. And what do you think that your business could do against the 9 priorities?
Well, it's deliver them and deliver them quicker. I know the net zero 2050 is it's a target, but fundamentally we should be doing it quicker than that. And we recognise that there are areas that can happen quickly. So we've got targets that are within the next year, the next 2 years, next 5 years. And then as we then develop into the next phase, we'll get to net zero, I believe, much quicker than 2050.
There's a Youth Voice, COP Climate, is being organised in Milan to bring together young people globally. What would be your key issue to raise?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because my inclination is to say to be a disruptor. The danger is that you have everyone out on the street with placards when you say things like that. But actually, fundamentally, you can be a disruptor by being positive and doing things and showing people how things can be done differently. So when you're having those conversations with designers and clients about doing things differently, coming up with or perhaps being a bit braver in some of the materials that are used, thinking outside the box with how the building might be used or and the benefits of that. And I do think that's the key is work out how to be a positive disruptor.
And what do you do in your daily life job that makes a difference?
I hope lead by example, motivate. I think that the key is to set everything up so that people have the opportunity to develop to their highest level of competency. There are ways of us all working together to achieve something that's really special, and whenever that happens, you want to hold on to that. So we've done that as a business over the years on all sorts of things. But what we've now got with this carbon emergency is a real opportunity to do something that I thought the industry might take 20 years, perhaps, to finally sort itself out, perhaps never. But actually what this does, along with things like COVID and the whole environment, it actually focuses us on really making a difference and doing it now, not 10, 15, 20 years' time.